In any software project, communication between the application owner and the developer is very important in order to keep the application tight and meeting all the requirements. Poor communication will lead to poor applications. So within the projects that I work on, I always build in a software request section, which really simplifies the communication. So today I'm going to show you the features that are built into the software requests so that you can use them properly. All right, so here's a report of the software requests, and I'll show you some things about this in a moment. But first, we're going to add in a new request. All right, so here's the subject, and the request is going to be on the employee form, add the hire date. Okay, now we have a list of all the forms and reports within this application, and in another video I showed you how to add a list of all the forms and reports along with documentation on what each form or report does. So we're using that list, and we just have a drop down here of all the forms and reports. So let's take a look for the employee form. I'll type a few letters, and it's not found. And in this particular application, it's actually called staff, not employee. So we have a form for the staff, but nothing for the employee. And this is one of the reasons why we use a drop down to indicate what section needs to be changed. Because if the requester had just put this in and said on the employee form and had not indicated the actual form, the developer is going to be looking all over for an employee form. It's not in this application. So by using the list, the requester realizes, oh, I've got the wrong word up here. So make a little change. All right. Okay, so here's the subject of the change. And in this particular case, it's really going to be on the staff form, add the hire date. Okay, so the requesters fill this in, and if you notice, when they chose the staff form, this item here in blue showed up because this is the documentation about that form. And let me just choose a different form so you can see that you have different text, and this is a description that somebody wrote about that particular form or report, so we know the details, so we make sure we're working with the right item. And also, and let me go back to staff here. Also, we have a button here that will open up the form or the report. So once again, if we're writing a change request, well, we can make sure we're looking at the form and say, yes, okay, the hire date does not show. We really need that on this form. So we're working with the right thing. Let me close that. All right. So the requester fills out these items on the left side, and then some of these control fields on the right side. And in this case, we want the developer to be making this change. So this is an open request, which is really puts it onto the developer's shoulders. The developer may come back and say, I need some clarification on your request, and the developer would mark this as clarification needed. Once the developer is done making change, they'll mark it as ready for testing, and then it puts it back onto the requester's shoulders to make sure that the change is working and does what they need. The requester may also mark this as hold for next version. So it's a request, it's something they want to change in the software, but not right now. So they can keep thoughts of wonderful features that they want to do in the future. And then once the developer has made a change that does exactly what the requester needs, they just mark it as complete, and then we can go on to the next request. All right. Now, on the priority, we have high, medium, low. No need for any more than that. And it always starts off as medium. If the requester has a very high priority, they'll mark it as high or low. The important thing here is that you can't just mark all of the requests as high, because that's the same as marking them all as medium or marking them all as low. If they all have the same priority, then the developer basically gets to pick and choose whatever they want to do. So if you have several requests and one or two of them are very, very important, need to be done quickly, mark those high, leave the rest as medium. If some are not that important right now, mark them as low. But the whole point of this is to make sure that is to have some requests with different priorities. If there's a certain deadline date, you just mark it in here, and then that's the information that the requester would fill in. There's also a spot to add an attachment. Maybe you have an external document like a Word document or a spreadsheet. All right, and we want to make sure that all of the requests are fairly small and fairly tight. So if you had said on the staff form at the hire date and on the task form add in the employee name or the staff name, well, that's two different requests. The developer might finish one, but can't say this is ready for testing because your request had a whole second component, which is not directly related. So by keeping the requests small and tight, it makes it easier for the developer to say, yes, I'm done with that. That one's ready for testing. I'll now work on your other tasks. If you have a large task, it just makes it very difficult to keep things moving. So, all right, so I'm going to hit submit, and things that you won't see because they're happening in the background. An email was just sent to the developer notifying him or her that there is a new task in this particular application that needs to be done. Now, we're going to change hats, and we're going to come back and edit this as a developer. And first you'll see that the request was moved down here, and they're all listed in date order with the newest item on top. And it's locked in so that you have a nice history of all the changes here. And okay, the developer is going to come in and say, all right, so do you also want a termination date? And in this case, the developer is going to mark this as clarification needed. All right, so we'll come in here, we'll update that. And an email went to the requester. All right, so the requester comes in, makes a change to the record, and a little note just says, reminding that this is marked as clarification needed. When you've made your clarification, change it back to open request so the developer knows they can start working on it. All right, so we've got the all right, so yes, they do want the termination date, and when the date is entered, then we want to change the staff status to inactive. Okay, so they'll now change this back to a status of open request, which means that it's on the developer's shoulders. Okay. All right, so, and here you have the history of what all has happened here. And you can also, over time, in a bigger application, you'd probably have possibly 100 or 200 of these different software requests, and you can sort them by the form or report name, and you can see all the changes in that section. So that makes it a very nice history of all the changes and how the software has evolved over time. Now I'm going to show you one more feature. So I'm going to go back in, and let's say, as a developer, I've made a change, and I'm going to mark this as ready for testing. All right, so I'll just save that, and I'm going to come in, I'm going to add a new record, and I get a warning that there are 3 tasks marked as ready for testing. They should be finished before adding new requests. The reason for this warning is, from a developer's point of view, if they've made a lot of changes to the system and have not gotten feedback from the application owner, the users, that those changes are working correctly, that they met the style and needs of the application owner, then if the developer is going to work on more requests, they're not sure if they should use the same method that they used in the ones that are out there waiting for testing. And it just, once again, it slows the process. So as you know, with an iterative process, which is what Zoho lends itself to, you want to have a lot of rapid back and forth. So when changes are done, they should be tested pretty quickly. New requests should come in fairly quickly, and that just moves the whole process along. So, so once again, the whole point of having the serve request section is to make sure the communications flow very smoothly. So I thank you for your time, and I hope your applications do exactly what you need. Thank you.